and this is my Basketball Wives review for season 10, episode 3. So I'm gonna make this quick as possible because I think the most important part of this episode was the last 15 minutes. So Angel Brinks is getting ready to basically do some measurements for a young lady. And she talks about how, while she, has this big booming business with her line, and not only does she sell clothes at her store, and she has clients who are in the entertainment industry, and she does designer pieces exclusively for them, she signed a deal recently with the NBA to upgrade their fashions to a whole new level. So basically, it seems not just like the teams, jerseys and so forth sets, but even probably when they're on the road, upgrading the lines. Probably the cheerleaders who cheer. I'm sure she's going to be working on that as well. That's a great thing. I really, really like Angel. And I've liked her going back to 2015. So Jackie meets up with Angel. And they sit down because, Jackie gotta be Jackie. She gotta start being messy. Usually around episodes 3 and 4. She gotta, get warmed up. So Angel tells her, we had a flood. I had a flood in my store. While you was preparing for your wedding, I had a flood in my store. And she was like, oh my God, I didn't know. She was like, yeah. And so Jackie asks her, how's your relationship with you and Rockstar? So she's like, we're still having our issues, whatever. I feel as though, I really love him, but I feel that sometimes, he doesn't appreciate me. So Jackie says, women must feel appreciated. That's like very important in a relationship. If we as women don't feel appreciated, then that's a problem. And Jackie's like, I'm just, like really happy for you. You have this new bundle of joy that's coming along. And in walks Rockstar with a whole bouquet of white roses. And they were beautiful, I have to say. And so he hugs and kisses her. And then he's rubbing the belly. And Jackie and Rock are meeting for like the first time. And, Rock is basically saying, talking about like how he can't wait to basically have a boy. He feels it. And she was like, a girl. She was like, no, a boy. I feel it. And so Jackie's like, I see the love amongst you two. Jacqueline, you're being messy. And so he's like, I want to raise a strong king. And she was like, yeah, I see that. I see you could be like a strong king and so forth. Jacqueline, please. Stop it. You're being messy. Even though we love the mess, but this one is a little bit too much because Rockstar, I believe, is messy. I don't believe he would cheat on her, but I believe that he would be verbally abusive. And I'm hoping that's the case. I'm hoping it's really just for the cameras at this point. So then we go to British apartment, and her mother, I think mother's name is Latricia, she drops off Dash. Dash is the daughter that British shares with Lorenzo. And so Lorenzo is staying at the Lou, which is St. Louis, and British is in LA. Now, Miss Latricia is going back and forth from LA to St. Louis to basically, help with the co-parenting that British and Lorenzo have together. So British says, I want to date again because I've moved on, but Lorenzo won't let me go. But Lorenzo, he be dating, he have his women and so forth. And so both of them agree that it's better to be without Lorenzo. So Lorenzo calls to check on Dash, his daughter. And so he's like, I'm here to pick up my daughter. I'm coming to get her next week. And so she was like, okay. And so then he going to ask her who she's seeing. And this is the thing I don't like about Lorenzo. You don't want to be with her? Don't be with her. But don't have your cake and eat it too. And then when British is dating, you got an issue with it. Now, I understand how you feel about men being transient in and out of Dash Light. But then you got to look at it this way. What about women being transient in and out of Dash Light? There is one thing I will say about Lorenzo's perspective of it. You got to be careful with a lot of the men because you don't know how these men really think. With the women, 9 times out of 10, it's just her seeing her father not being with her mother. But the men sometimes, which is kind of rare, but sometimes they have ulterior motives, if you know what I mean. So you got to protect the girls. And the boys too. So now we see Jackie, British, Brandi, and Duffy. They having an outside lunch. And Duffy has this thing where she loves to hook up her friends. So she sees this cute, in quotations, cute guy sitting behind British. She was like, oh, British, there's this cute guy sitting behind you. And she's like, Duffy, he's wearing sweatpants. Now, while British is saying all that, Jackie's like, I really think that you and Lorenzo should give it another chance. Jackie, this is British. Jackie, please stay out of other people's relationships. I do not need you to get involved between me and Lorenzo. That's how I'm paraphrasing it. Please, I am begging you, Jackie Christie, leave it alone. And she was like, but I just see, there's so much hope there. And she's like, Jackie, I don't want to be with him. Let it go. So while she's telling Jackie this, she has this great idea. This is Duffy, have this idea. I want to do a meat market mixer. Set up my friends who are single with guys that I know. And, vice versa. And I just feel that it would be a fun event. And so British is looking forward to it. So is Brandi, even though she's married. Jackie's looking forward to it too. But you want to see what Jackie does. Jackie still thinks Britt and Lorenzo belongs together. And she's not going to let that go. And Duffy thinks that this mixer will be good to break the ice with everything going on between her and Iman. Because she still hasn't decided if she's going to stop DJing or if she's going to still continue to DJ. And try to balance her. And first of all, I want to say this. Iman, if you are going to want her to stay at home, you got to marry her, number one. But I know why he's doing that. It has to do with something that happened in 2018. In 2018, French Montana got caught in compromising photos with Duffy out on the beach. And ever since then, that's the reason why he don't want it. So it's not so much, I don't want you to DJ. I really don't want you around French Montana. And I understand it. I'm not even mad at Iman. So moving along, Malaysia has flown in her children from Atlanta to LA. So Jayla is going to be sharing the room with Malaysia. Jaden and Gennaro Jr. are going to be sharing the other bedroom because it's a 2-bedroom apartment. The apartment aesthetic is nice, but it's just so tiny. But the living room and the walk-in kitchen makes up for the lack of space. I couldn't do it. I really couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. Now, it's one thing if it was a 5-bedroom and 2-bath apartment and a huge living room for you, kitchen, dining room, things like that. But I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. But I'm going to say something. I've always liked Malaysia. But growing up in Harlem, there's something that we have, and it's an unspoken code. And some of you all are not going to like me for saying it, and I don't care. Women who are mothers should never look better than their daughters. Really, their kids, but definitely not their daughters. If you're going to be glammed up, your daughter should be glammed up as a kid as well. She doesn't have to be glammed up in the sense of you being, like haute couture. But the way her hair was, if you look, and I hate doing this, but I know she's 10 years old. But it's like Malaysia not putting the emphasis in her daughter's looks. Knowing that she's going to be on TV. Like, I just didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. It just made me mad. So, her sister comes over, their aunt, and she took another flight, and basically she's coming to help out and so forth. So we move on to Jennifer, Jackie, and I believe Nia at the seance with the lady named Patty, who's a medium. So they're basically, there to comfort Jennifer because of Jennifer losing her dog Gia that she was very close to. And Gia basically got sick on Mother's Day. And that was tough because she was also dealing with her mother not being there. And she lost her mother, I think, around about 2016 or something like that. So what happens is that the medium said, Gia is right by you. She will always be with you. She is fine. Because no matter what, nothing ever dies. And that is the truth. Because we are energy. And we never, ever, 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 ever die. We just transition to another place. That's why they call it, like nowadays, people don't say that person, they say they passed away. Meaning they passed on or they transitioned. Because people are not understanding the concept of life and being alive. You understand? And so she's also happy and she's always around Jennifer. And her mother is there too. And she said, your mother's proud of you. And she said that somebody is going to put a ring on it. And Jennifer gets really hyped because Jennifer is looking for love. Because Jennifer basically, I'm going to get to that later. So we see Lorenzo is visiting his daughter Dash. Like he kept his word. And British basically is willing to co-parent. But she basically is letting him know, what you're not going to do is control my life. So Lorenzo is basically like, I don't care. It don't matter who's piping you or who's effing you. You just need to be serious with who you're going to be around, who you're going to be with. Because I don't need men being transient with my daughter around. And she was like, yeah, but I was in a 6-month relationship and you still had an issue with it. He was like, so what? Because I'm going to always be around. Because no matter what, I'm still going to be in your life. Lorenzo is an asshole. Lorenzo cannot be without controlling British. Okay? So, he said, I don't really like, basically seeing you with a lot of men. So she's like, first of all, I'm not a hoe. And this is my vagina. He's like, yeah, I know it's your vagina. But you don't have to act, a certain way. So Lorenzo basically thinks that she's being a hoe, which is not the case. But you don't have any boundaries when it comes to you dating other women. So she's like, listen, we can co-parent, but you're not going to dominate my life, and you're not going to tell me what to do. Because I'm not 21 years old. I'm not the 21-year-old girl that you met. So Jennifer is taken by Jackie and Brooke to this V's theme so that she can she can prepare for Duffy's meat market event. Now, here's the thing about this. Jennifer is basically excited, and Brooke is going to hook her up with one of her friends. Okay? So Jennifer's like, I'm totally looking forward to it. But to be honest, I haven't had the best experiences in relationships. I really honestly do want to be married, but I haven't had the best dating history. Now, let's keep it real, Jennifer Williams. When you first was on Basketball Wives, you were a wife. You were married to Eric Williams. And in season 2 or 3, Eric Williams and you got a divorce. And Eric Williams was really a horrible person. But Eric Williams is something nasty. He threw a drink at you and told you better be careful. You better watch yourself. And threw that drink in her face after he divorced you. I saw that episode when it first premiered. I was appalled. That shit was not funny. Then we have the ex who basically she had to get a restraining order against him, and he's currently locked up, i.e. James Timothy Norman, who had his nephew Andre Montgomery Jr. murdered for insurance money. Then we have the guy from 2 years ago who basically borrowed her Range Rover and never returned it. He stole it. Larceny. So she's really looking forward to this. So we move on to Zell Swags in Malaysia. And I have to say his name like that because Zell Swags is a swag. So he is a ball of flame. I'm not going to say flaming, but thunderous energy. Hots. Mercury. A ball of fire. So they go to Vanity World 10, which is actually Malaysia's business. So it's going to be a business where she's going to show off her line of clothes. Okay. And what's going to happen is this is a play project that's going to turn into a lucrative business to support her kids who are 10 and 14 because Gennaro Pargo, who is a coach, does not pay child support. And she still has to live her fabulous life. And she's tired of living in that 2-bedroom apartment when 10 years ago she was living in a mansion. So they talk about how Brandi is weird. So the Malaysia is tired of the whole Brandi thing. And this is what's been going on. Brandi basically stopped talking to Zell. And Zell has said, I had to cut her loose because I felt like after you guys stopped speaking, she was calling me. And it seemed like she was calling me to want to come over so that I could talk about you. And I didn't want to be that kind of person. Now, the one thing about Zell, I will say, Zell starts shit on his own. The one thing about Zell, he don't like to be brought into the drama. That's the thing. Because obviously, I know him from Love and Hip Hop franchise. He likes to create it. Because he's an alpha male still. But he don't like to be brought into it. If it has nothing to do with him, he don't want any parts of it. He doesn't. He just likes to stay out of it. Now, he'll listen and eavesdrop, but he does not want his name attached to something he didn't create. He likes to lead the drama. So, what happened is that he basically said how they had an argument, a falling out. And so he thought it was weird that he got this call, not call, but DMs like, oh, Zell, can you come over? Oh, Zell, can you come over? Without even apologizing. And he's like, wait a minute, why now say you want me to come over? And she's like, Malaysia, it's because she wants to talk about me to you. And her behavior is foul. And I don't want to be her friend no more. And he was like, I don't blame you. So we get to see Duffy prepping for the meat market event. Now this, I'm going to really stay on this no more than about 7 minutes. Okay. So the hookup is pretty much, she's hoping that it's going to be successful. So British is coming in there with her black outfit with lime green, the pocketbook, the bag, and the shoes was everything. I loved it. Brandi is there in her leopard print dress, wraparound dress. I loved it. And then you have Brooke, wears black very well. Jackie is Jackie. And Jennifer is, giving like Fendi set with like the jacket and the boots. And then Nia and Naraya, they basically come in because Naraya is married, as I said in the previous episode, but Nia hasn't been in a relationship since she was 16, when she was a teen mom. So she's part of the meatpacking, event. So what happens is Jackie basically says, I invited Lorenzo to the event, but British don't know. And Brooke is appalled. Brooke is like, why did you do that? Why did you do that? Knowing that girl do not want to be with that man, why did you do that? And she's like, Jackie still can't stay out of other people's relationships and other people's businesses. So this is what happens. British basically says, I get a email I get a DM from this girl who tells me that she's his previous, girlfriend. And she says how basically I'm trying to get Lorenzo to sign the papers. And she's like, what papers? The papers to basically break up our domestic partnership in the state of California. So basically, Lorenzo, previous girlfriend, not the current one, but the previous one, he entered a domestic partnership in California with this woman. And it seems like he did it so that she could put him on her health insurance. See, Lorenzo plays ball, but he plays overseas, meaning he don't make that much money to begin with. He never played for the NBA. He was an overseas player. So Jackie's like, I don't believe he is in a domestic partnership because I know that he wants to get back with British. Who the fuck says some shit like that other than Jackie? Only Jackie would say some dumb BS about that shit. Jacqueline Christie, it's not even that you don't know how to mind people's business. It's like you basically like to reframe the whole narrative of other people's businesses, other people's life, because you want to control the narrative and how it ends. Jacqueline. See, when you do stuff like this, I'm going to call you Jacqueline. I'm not going to call you Jackie. Okay? So Jackie's like, I'm going to get to the bottom of this one way or another because I believe he still loves British. So we see the men come through and Jen is not feeling this shit at all. And so Angel and Rock comes through. They seem happy, but I'm going to be honest with you, their relationship is very stressful. And as a person that has PTSD, I really can't look at them for so long because I feel like they're going through stress. And I don't need to go through stress by looking at this. I can't do it. So anyway, what happens is we see the start of the meatpacking event right after Iman pulls through. And Jackie basically is nervous because she did a bad thing. And so what happens is that she basically... Okay, so basically this is the deal. The rules of the game is this. The men come forward. Whoever they like basically gets a pass and goes to the next round. But a person who's in a relationship has a wild card, but only one that they can choose from their pick to go to the next round. So it's a simple game and so forth. So the men come through, and one of them is a rapper, but's willing to basically also settle down, but he also, looks like he needs health insurance according to Jennifer. The other one works in he's a health coach. Jennifer wasn't feeling him based on the look. And then there's this man named Devon. He had 2 kids from the same baby mother who moved on with her life and got married. Then there's this man that he just like pretty feet. And then walks in Jelani. Now the first 4 she wasn't feeling. And Jelani walks in. And what happens is Jennifer gets the tingles, and Jennifer basically asks him, what do you do? And so he said, I run a couple of internet businesses, and I'm from Compton, California. Do you have any kids? No. How come? It never worked out. So she's like, question, is your watch real? And Brooke interrupts and said, honey, he got a mean watch collection. That's my friend. And that's the friend that Brooke was mentioning to Jennifer that she was going to hook her up with. So they have a connection right away. And so what happens is they're bonding, and lo and behold, who walks through the door? Lorenzo. And British is like, Jackie, what did you do? What did you do? So he sits down. So Jackie does the interview, and Jackie's like, are you still in love with British? And he's like, and Duffy's like, it's a yes or no answer. So he's like, I got love for her. I got love for her. And so British is like, I don't need you to have love for me. First of all, I don't have any interest in you in that aspect. I've moved on for you. Okay? I'm not that little girl anymore that you met. And he was like, I got love for you, but I raised you. You ain't raised me. You didn't raise me at all. And he was like, I met you. You was a 21-year-old working at the Boys and Girls Club in St. Louis. And she was like, yeah, but so what? You've never raised me. First of all, how you gonna raise me when I'm the one who's basically taking care of kids? You're not even taking care of your own kids. Kids, not kid. That means he has more than one. How you gonna raise me? First of all, anything, I raised your ass. First of all, second of all, you can't even take care of yourself. All right? And third, I don't want to deal with you anymore. Look at you. You always like just insulting me, basically lying on me, saying this and that. I don't need you. I don't need any man like you, okay, Lorenzo? I could do better off by myself, all right? I just want to co-parent you, but that's it. I'm paraphrasing, okay? But she went off, honey. And she went off. And basically, he was like, you still going to come back? You going to still come back? She's like, no, I'm not. I'm done. I'm not going to come back. And I said, you know what? Kudos to you, British. And she was like, you need to come back down to earth. Because your mind is all the way up here. And you're not really focusing. You thinking, you in a fantasy. You thinking that I'm going to crawl back to you, but I'm never going to come back. And I loved it. Kudos to her. Even though she got a case with the feds. But anyway, it's still fun. Even though they got into it, it was still entertaining. Because you knew it wasn't going to go to blows. But the next one, oh Lord, Malaysia and Swag. Now, you know Zell is messy and getting ready to start it up when he basically fluffed up his shirt, his flannel shirt. I said, Zell, you mother, you MFer, you ready. And you ready to get Brandi. And you ready for her. And you doing it on behalf of Malele. I like to call it Malaysia Malele. And you basically came to this event because you knew Brandi was going to be there. Okay? All right. So, in walks in the two. And really, Brandi's not feeling it. But there's somebody else that's not feeling it, and that's Jennifer. So, Zell decides to participate in the meat packing event. And so, he basically sits down and he's like, they asked him a couple of questions. And he's like, why are you here? He was like, well, I'm here because, I really want to be here and so forth. Like, I don't know what I'm finding. I'm like the kind of guy that, I'm just that guy. Like, he say like stupid stuff because he's really not there to be part of it. He's just being messy. And so what they asked Jennifer, what do you like what you see? And so she wouldn't look at him. And so Zell's like, oh, Jennifer don't like me. And it was like, oh, why Jennifer don't like you, Zell? Because a couple of years ago, I basically said that she had stink breath. I said, Zell, you ain't shit. So they do the flashback. And so, I'm sorry, it was funny. And they show how he basically told Malaysia and Jennifer and Evelyn that he was like, I don't like her bag, I don't like her shoes, I don't like her hat, I don't like her stink breath. I mean, I just don't like her. They was like, stink breath? He was like, yeah, her breath stink. So they was like, well, what would make your perception of Jennifer change? He was like, well, if she basically, cleaned her teeth and, got a good toothbrush and brushed her teeth and her breath smelled good, then, that would basically change my perception of her. Like, I don't have a problem with her. It was just her breath. Jennifer's like, I'm good. I'm good. I don't need you. I don't need you. I don't need you for nothing. I don't want to talk to you, anything like that. And he was like, see, now I'm trying to be nice. Zell, you was being fucking messy and you know it. But anyway, they get up. And so Malaysia and Zell, they talking to, different people. And Jennifer is talking to Brandi. And I believe she's talking to Duffy. And she's like, she brought him there. I feel that she brought him there to basically be messy towards me because she knows I don't like him. Why would you bring him to this event? Now, Jelani is somewhere in the cut. Because I think that had he got in her face, Jelani would have fucked Zell up. Okay? So, what ends up happening is that Duffy basically, I believe it's Duffy or Brooke, go to Malaysia and say, Jennifer thinks that you brought Zell to the event because you trying to be messy and start something. She was like, no, I didn't bring him here to start with Jennifer, which I agree with. She did not. Zell wasn't coming here to start with Jennifer because that was like 4 years ago. He ain't thinking about Jennifer, okay? He came there because of Brandi, all right? Maxielle. So what happens is Malaysia's like, I'm definitely going to let her know that Zell didn't come here to start trouble with you. And she does that. She says, Jennifer, I'm going to let you know Zell did not come here to start any trouble with you at all. Now, here's the thing. Jennifer is like, kind of looking like, oh, this is BS. But just when Jennifer is saying, I don't like that kid. I don't like him. But Jennifer's willing to brush her off because she's really thinking about Jelani. Enters into the conversation Brandi Maxielle and says, that when you bring Zell around to an event, he's going to cause drama. And right away, Malaysia's like, don't talk to me. Don't talk to me. I don't want you talking to me. And Brandi's like, but I'm talking to you. No, I don't want you talking to me, but I'm talking to you because I'm really sick and tired of your attitude because you bringing people around here that's starting trouble. Why would you bring him around knowing that Jennifer got issues? So then Brandy's like, no, I don't want you talking. She's like, I don't want you talking to me. That's Malaysian. So then Brandy's like, oh, so what? So it's a problem? So it's going to be a problem? So then they get into that mood like they're about to fight. Now, Brandi escalates it, and then Zell basically pushes himself in because he came there for Brandi, not for Jennifer. And what happens is Brandi basically says, you basically know that you came in here to be messy. You know you came here to be messy. And that nose basically... that surgical nose, because you can tell she had surgery. That nose caves in, and she's like, you knew, and everything. And so what ends up happening is that she walks away. They pull her away, and I think the person that pulls her away is either Brooke or Jackie. And so what happens is Malaysia and Brandi basically get into it, and they basically say a couple of stuff, but it's not really that important. But what it is that she's basically says in so many words, you like to stir up the pot. And you know when he's coming in, he's stirring up stuff. She's like, I did not bring him here for you. I didn't bring him here for you. But what happens is this. She says, you know what? If you want a shit show for the cameras, I will give you a shit show. This is Brandi telling Malaysia. So then she was like, well, come on. What's up? So then Duffy's like basically telling Malaysia, because she was the one that pretty much spoke to Brandi because they know each other for years. Duffy tells her, Malaysia, Brandi feels that you brought him here to start trouble. And that she hasn't talked to him because last year they got into an argument, okay? Now, I'm going to go back in time because I did skip over something. Brandi and Zell knew each other for years before Malaysia knew Zell. Brandi hired Zell as her stylist, but he also became her friend and her little brother. But then they had a falling out because he crossed the line because he disrespected her family. Now, Duffy ends up telling Malaysia he disrespected her mother and her sister. Now, I believe it because Zell, we've seen how he gets down on Love and Hip Hop Hollywood. And we see that he likes to tag team with other females, i.e. Paris Phillips. They'll tag team and then they'll want to fight the female. And if it's a man, it's a gay man. But it's never with a straight man. So Malaysia's like, okay, well, if that's the case, how come she kept DMing him for the past couple of months saying, Zell, come over to the house. Zell, look at my kitchen. Zell, I want to talk to you. So Duffy's like, huh? Yes, she is being a fake ass bitch. She only wants to do this shit because she's mad at me. So she wants to use Zell as a pawn in all of this. And basically, in so many words, I'm sick and tired of her. And so she said to me, she don't want to be my friend. And that's perfect because I don't want to. That's better for me. And she said, and this is the part that breaks the fourth wall. Okay? This part is no longer a show. They're not in character. She said, for the past 4 years, you was downstairs in your basement watching me be on TV. You are mad at me because you got kicked off the show and you think that I had something to do with it. Matter of fact, I fought for you to stay on the show. I basically was willing to film with you, but you chose not to. Okay? I spoke up for you to have you stay on the show. It's not my fault that you got fired because you couldn't keep your mouth closed. You didn't know how to control what was coming out your mouth. Remember, in 2016, she was still having those issues with Shawnee. That's why in 2017, she didn't transfer over to the Basketball Wives franchise, unlike Jackie and Malaysia. She could have been over there, but you don't know how to handle your anger. Now, when I saw this shit, I'm going to tell you what I said in the last upload, commentary, review. about this show, it confirmed it. She's mad because she thinks that Malaysia got her kicked off the show, or Malaysia didn't fight for her to stay on the show. Malaysia's not an EP, Brandi. So you rather Malaysia not be on the show, knowing that she got 3 kids, to your 1. Because of you not being able to not just be quiet, but be careful of what you say. Instead of calling people bitches. You don't call the creator of the show a bitch. And you know what's funny? The creator never disliked you. You had an issue with her. You know what it is? Brandi, if anyone, has the character flaw. It's not Malaysia. Because if Malaysia had a character flaw, Malaysia would have been off the show. Malaysia has been on part of the Basketball Wives team going back to 2011, 11, 12, 13, 15, 16, okay? 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 10 years. We in 2022, going on 11 years. She has a great relationship with VH1. You just got back on, and it's because Shawnee is now a first lady. She's in a whole different headspace. Okay? Because you had beef with a lot of them. You and Tammy didn't get along. Okay? You didn't get along with, what's her name? I think it was the girl, what was her name? Megan? She didn't get along with Megan. She didn't get along with Megan or OG Drea. Like, what the hell? So now we know the reason why. We know the reason why. But still, I still feel that the way she argues with Malaysia, it was more like a couple's argument from her end, not from Malaysia. So she wanted to whip her ass while Jennifer is mixing it with Jelani. They drowning out the noise because you can hear Brandi like, bitch, I will fuck you up. Come on, let's go. And she was like, I love to see you do that. I love to see you do that. And Zell Swags is messy. Because, you know, he came there to be messy. But I do believe that he did not come there to start anything with Jennifer. I really do. And this review has been longer than I expected. Thank you for listening. Please hit the like button. Hit the notification bell to receive future uploads on reviews for Basketball Wives and other shows. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't. Share, comment, like, and I'll be back soon. Thank you and good night.